When thinking about Piaget, one field of expertise immediately comes to mind: the art of crafting ultra-thin watches. Piaget gained fame with ultra-thin legendary calibres such as 2mm thin 9P from 1957 or the 2.3mm thin 12P micro-rotor movement from 1960. Some 10 years ago, the 900P brought a radical re-engineering of the architecture of a watch with the fusion of the main plate and the caseback. It was one of the key steps that led to the creation of the Altiplano Ultimate Concept, which, at 2mm thin, was the thinnest mechanical watch ever when it was presented in 2018. This year, 2024, the brand celebrates its 150th anniversary. And of course, there had to be a milestone to mark this year. Piaget pushed the limits of ultra-thin again, with a world first. The newest version of the Altiplano Ultimate Concept is 2mm thin, just like its predecessors. But this time it's regulated by a tourbillon, making it the thinnest tourbillon ever. At first glance, there are many similarities with the 2018 Altiplano Ultimate Concept, but there is much more than meets the eye. Of course, the basic concept has been kept, but 90% of the parts are new. Piaget did far more than merely adding a tourbillon.
Just like for the 900P and first version of the AUC, the basic principle is still this radical re-engineering of the architecture of a watch that involves fusing the case and movement into one component. In short, the movement components are directly integrated into recesses machined into the caseback. The idea is to avoid having different layers in the watch architecture, taking advantage of the entire surface of the watch, rearranging and building all functions in the same horizontal plane. The first challenge for Piaget watchmakers was to reimagine the tourbillon. Instead of a conventional construction where it is held by its underside, plus eventually with an upper bridge, the tourbillon cage is driven peripherally by ball bearings. From an aesthetic perspective, it also allowed it to add a sapphire opening in the caseback. Ticking at 4 Hz, the balance wheel also rotates on ball bearings. It is slightly off-centered from the rotation axis of the cage. As you would expect, it features a flat hairspring and 4 gold adjustment weights. All in all, the tourbillon has dimensions of 14mm by 1.49mm. Last, to minimize its weight, 0.37 gram in total, it is mostly made of titanium and of steel where it's possible. Once the tourbillon had been reimagined, the question was to cope with the 30% additional power required to drive the rotation of its cage while still delivering 35 hours of power reserve. First, it involved a new made-to-measure barrel, slightly larger, fitted with a more powerful spring with a thicker blade. Then, just like for the first version of the AUC, most of the wheels of the gear train are mounted by a ball bearing to minimize friction while eliminating the need for bridges that would add an extra layer. Just like for the first AUC, this technical feat requires trimming down the components to the limit of the feasibility and working with the most extreme tolerances, eventually reimagining components' architecture and function. For instance, the sapphire crystal is 0.2mm thick, while the back sapphire crystal is 0.16mm. Altogether, the Piaget Altiplano Concept Tourbillon 150th anniversary has a diameter of 41.5mm, a guaranteed water resistant to 2 ATM for its blue PVD treated cobalt alloy case. We also slightly reworked the aesthetic of the decorations that are truly challenging to perform given the tight tolerances. For example, the wheels are now made with 4 arms instead of the 6 previously used. These are diamond polished and chamfered by hand, a very delicate process as you cannot deform them.
Overall, the Altiplano Ultimate Concept is superb in every respect. Besides the captivating rotation of its tourbillon, it looks even better than the 2018 version, with numerous aesthetic upgrades. Just like these other rare watches at 2mm or less, it feels truly surrealistic to hold it in your hands or to have it on your wrist. Of course, it's always interesting to list the records for the books, but most importantly, the ingenuity needed to create these record-thin watches is just mesmerizing.